All right, welcome everyone to episode 2 of the M3 podcast. I'm here with a friend of mine, John Krause, owner of Starvox Capital. Welcome, John. Appreciate you coming on, man. I been looking forward to this since we decided, kind of got together and agreed to get on here and do this. So thank you, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. I appreciate you asking me.
So interesting thing, like I said, John Krause is the owner of Starvox Capital. When I got into real estate, about a year ago now, and kind of fumbling my way through. I feel like I'm still fumbling my way through it here and there. It's always a learning process, right? But
Yeah.
Starvox Capital was my broker, right? Was my lender and got me funded for my very first deal, which is running and doing fantastic right now on Airbnb and Furnish Finder. So thank you, John. Appreciate that.
Love it, man. Yeah, it was fun to work with you on your first deal. And I see you keep rolling, so keep it up, man.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
Good stuff. Yeah.
So tell us about yourself, man. Let everybody know who John Krause is. Who are you and what do you do? People want to
Yeah.
know.
You want the Cliff Notes version or do you want the real version? um, so I'll just give a little backstory context of John Krause, because obviously Starvox Capital is my company, but there's more to it than
Yeah.
just like the company, right? So I've been in the mortgage space. Actually, I first got into the mortgage space, the lending space, back in 2004. Before, which we would call the wild, wild west, the traditional mortgage space. I mean, it was nuts. I mean, which is why we entered into that crisis in 2008, right?
Right.
A lot of the reason, because it was just, if you could breathe and you had a heartbeat, you could probably get a mortgage. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And then everyone was chasing appreciation. So yeah, it was nuts. I mean, it is what it is, but I've been in the space for a long time. But the journey that got me to where I am today is also like a pretty good story. After leaving that space, I went back. I used to be in the gym business. I used to run health clubs out of college, and I was like, well, no more mortgages. So now what? So I was like, well, I know the gym business. So I was like, well, why don't I try to get a couple investors and open a health club? And I ran into a guy that used to work with. He had started opening his health clubs, and I'm like, listen, can we sit down for coffee? And I want to pick your brain about how you did it and what you did. And this is the story of just really me evolving from where I was searching then to like where I am now. And it started as like, all right, let's open my own gym. And then we partnered up on a gym, and we did that for a little while. I realized, I was a young man at that point in time. I thought I made it because I was an owner of a health club. You're like, whoa, like, get me the Beamer and, we're good now. I was just immature. I didn't understand really what it took to own a business and run a business. But I wanted to, I ended up, after a couple years of running that health club that we put our blood, sweat, and tears into opening, a couple years, I just left my investment there and I left. I was like, you're doing good. Keep it up. I can't stand behind a desk and do this gym job every day. And it was far from the house. There's a lot of variables. And I learned a lot about partnership at that point in time and how hard and how difficult it is. So lots of lessons learned. I went into the insurance business because I was like, now what? I like the aspect of building a book of business. And I know this is going like way far away from where you may intend it to go, but it kind of comes back to the mortgage business. I was just searching, and I think this is a lesson for people out there like that are like, okay, I'm not in the space that I'm in now, but just keep looking, keep trying, keep doing. Right. I think that's a big thing that I kept doing. Insurance business, ran into different roadblocks here and there. I was like, well, do I open my own brokerage, for insurance? I'm like, we had a couple kids at the time. I'm like, I can't start from scratch again. I went back to school and got my MBA. Because I figured, well, let's go up the corporate ladder. I was like, let me find that cushy corporate job. Let's get a VP position somewhere and make a decent salary. And there we have it. As things would progress, though, I'm like, I realized through time that I'm not a corporate guy. I'm just not. And I didn't understand that, like the reason, like what that actually meant until obviously later in life. And after I stumbled upon a job with a smaller company in the auto space, where it's more like they had a product that was patented. I thought it was really cool. I was in charge of bringing it across the country and international, which was really neat. And it was fun. And I love the guy that owned it. It was a small company, but it kind of got me back into the entrepreneurial flow, because it wasn't my business, but I was with him and I was watching kind of what he's building. Right. And I thought it was really cool. Well, as fate would have it, a couple of years into that, I got leukemia, so I'm like, I got sick. And things, like I said, just when you think things are going well, life can change on a dime. Absolutely. So that was like a curveball. 3 kids, 1 on the way, leukemia, acute myeloid leukemia, aggressive leukemia. In the hospital for 30 days, achieved remission. Luckily, thank God, my brother was a full match for a stem cell transplant. I went to Dana-Farber in Boston, did a stem cell transplant, another month in the hospital, got out of that, and everything, other than living in a bubble, kind of like how we all lived it when we were at COVID, living in COVID days. That's how I lived in 2015. I couldn't come out of the house. I couldn't leave. I had to have a mask and gloves, and because my immune system was that of a baby. Right. So going through all those challenges led me to I didn't, when I came out of that, I didn't want to work in that same spot. I was like, it's not really fulfilling for me. It just kind of shifted. And I think that's like one of those things, you can't be afraid to change and shift what you're doing in life and career. And I think that's a testament to where you're at too, Right. I was just searching. And as fate would have it, I jumped back into the mortgage business in 2017. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. This is awesome. I love it. It's kind of meant to be. I burned the bridge. I wasn't going back to anything else. I wasn't going to go back and get that salary. I was happy because I was really building a business. And that's kind of what led me to the commercial investor space. I was doing that for a couple of years with another brokerage, and I fell into fix and flip loans. Irving, you understand exactly what that is because that's the one we did for you, right? Yep. So, and after about a year of doing this, I'm like, I should just do this for myself. I have the confidence that I'm the one who built this book of business. I did this, and I just had confidence in my ability and what I was doing to do it myself. So I did. So that's when Starvox Capital was born in 2019. And at that time, it was for me. It was a vessel for me to close loans and generate income for my family. I didn't really have a big long-term vision of what it would be, but it was for me. And I loved it. I was super happy, but I still held the mortgage licenses and capitalized on a great economy in 2020 and 2021 with that. So that's kind of where it was, and where it is today is a place in I'll have to stop a little bit because I battled leukemia 2 more times. Wow. 2020 and 2021. So really recently had another stem cell transplant. So by the grace of God, I'm here. And it's given me a lot of perspective in life, which is important. And I'm grateful that I have that perspective because everything that I do in times like this with you, and it's important. And it's a moment in time that maybe I can impact somebody, whether it's in business or in life. And that's why when you said, hey, can you come on this? I'm like, yeah, I don't know where it's going to go, but I want to impact people.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. I just want to impact people in life positively. Whether it's, hey, can I help you build your real estate, right, book a business or portfolio? Or is it, hey, by what I said in my perspective on life, does that help you change your perspective in life? So that's where we are. I mean, we started in 2022 growing and adding to the team, and we're evolving. We have a COO now, and we've got about 12 loan officers across the country. We're looking to grow with the right people that see the vision and the values of Starvox Capital, which are really to help new investors. Right. I could work with an investor that's been doing this, and we do for they've got a massive portfolio, but let's face it, they've got their guys, they've got their money, they've got their partnerships. There's a lot of people in this world, in this country, in other countries and areas, as you know, that don't really get it. They don't really understand that they can do this too. They just have to be shown how to do it. And those are the clients that we're really looking for and looking to target, is the ones that say, this real estate thing seems really cool, but I don't know if I have the money, or I don't know if my credit is good, or so all these things, kind of what you're talking to on your side, which is different, right?
Right.
It's still aligned to the same thing. It's that perception that I can't do it. right? I can't do it because I don't have the tools. I didn't come from money. Well, I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, scratch that. You don't need that, because guess what? There's other ways, sub two, right? There's other ways, partnership, to be able to get loans. You know what I mean? Like leveraging other people. And that's kind of what we're doing. And we're helping and teaching and holding people's hands and starting with one property. And I mean, I have a client down in Florida that started in November. She's on her 6th property now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so let me ask you a question. When you started with her, you guys went property number 1, 2, basically you were, helped her get started.
Yeah. Her and her husband, they came to us and they're like, listen, we've got some money. We want to start getting into this, rehab to hold game or rehab to flip game too, like that kind of thing. So we just basically guided them on, property 1. And it's just all about relationships and understanding that we're all here to win. Everyone's here to win. But like, for us, and this is what I tell my team all the time, listen, guys, we're not trying to get rich on one deal. We're not.
Right.
The money comes long-term. It comes with the relationship that you build. And now we're on our 7th deal with them or 6th deal with them. And it's just, and I'll probably end up flying them up to Connecticut for our company relaunch party in December. Like, those are the kind of relationships that we want to have, that we want to start. And it's all about having the team that we have do the same thing, whether or not it starts from a lead, that finds us on Facebook, or it's somebody that referred them to us, however it comes to us.
You and I, we connected on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about that. I mean, we met for coffee and then I don't know however long after that we were talking about a deal. I didn't even really think that we were talking about a deal until we were. I was like, this is great. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yep. So
that's kind of where we're at.
One thing that you mentioned, kind of going back a little bit, but it was something that really stuck out in my mind is, when you talked about leaving the gym, right? The words that you used to me were pretty interesting, because you said, I don't want a gym job, right? Like, I don't want to do this. And it's the words to me were interesting because you were in partnership. Like you had ownership in the gym, but the words you use were still, I don't want a gym job, because like you said, you were stuck there at that desk every day. Probably, I'm guessing probably Monday through Saturday or whatever, most gyms are usually open, even sometimes 7 days a week. Right. So I think that's a big thing that business owners don't realize, is that if you don't put people in place, right? If you don't hire and put the pieces in place to be able to remove yourself from the business, to be able to scale, it's really just a glorified job, right? I mean, you're stuck there having to work that all day, every day, whatever the hours are. If you're a plumber turning wrenches, or if you're an electrician, wiring up houses, if it's just you, or if it's just you in one other person, whatever it may be, or, obviously in your case with the gym, you're just a glorified employee.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, and that's one of the things, as I grew Starvox, I realized that's where I was. I was closing my loans and my face was to a computer screen, making sure that was happening and going back and forth, which is fine for some people, but there's only a certain amount of work you can do by yourself. Exactly. I mean, there's a good statement. You can go fast alone or go far together. So I really think that's believable, and it's true. And that's why, like, doing something by yourself, fine. You can make moves and you can pivot and do things however you want, quick as you want. But if you want to go far, you need to bring people in with you. You have to, and that's kind of what we started doing in 22. Is I'm like, or maybe a little bit before that. I'm like, I need a processor. I need someone to plug in where I don't have to look at this computer screen once I get alone in the system. He or she can. I don't need to worry about that. As long as I trust them and train them to do the job, it's easy. Now I can go generate more business and start scaling my business. And then it'll just evolve from there. And it's keeping it on evolving, to where eventually John Krause won't be really working on many loans. I'll be more working on my business, growing it, which that's the transition I'm in now is, leads that come in, people that I do loans for. I'm passing those along to my trusted loan officers because, number one, it helps them, but number two, it helps me do the more important things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it frees you up to focus, like you said, on growing your business,
yeah,
as opposed to, doing the day-to-day of processing loans.
right, which is
Yeah,
super important. And and I
of
want to
course.
do that. I want all my clients to keep coming back to me, but there's a certain amount of time in the day. It's really what it comes down to. There's only
Absolutely.
a certain amount of time in the day. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And as and as the visionary of your company, as the leader, right? The founder, the leader, the person that's leading the charge and building these high level relationships and doing the things needed to push the company forward, it's holding everyone back
hmm
by John having to, process loans all day, every day.
yeah. No, it's true.
You know,
Yeah, that is exactly where we're at. But by the fourth quarter, or maybe the first quarter of next year, the goal is to not be working on too many loans myself. Which obviously, if somebody really needs me to do it, I will. But
yeah,
the goal is to have enough people in place to be able to do that. We have enough people in place right now.
right,
The hard part, I think, as a leader is letting go.
absolutely.
I think that's the hardest part. This is my client. I brought them. I nurtured them. I took care of them. What's going to happen if I hand them to somebody else? You have to trust that you've trained them well enough, that they know
Hmm.
the business well enough, and they know what you do well enough to hand them off.
Yeah.
And I think that's the tough part to let go of that. And then just really, because if you can't let go, you're never going to grow.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah.
And I think oftentimes as leaders, once we are able to get on the other side of that barrier, right, that's holding us back, I think oftentimes we look back and we probably can realize, depending on what the task is, oftentimes somebody else can do it better than we can.
Oh, absolutely. There's plenty of parts of my business that I know I should not be doing, which is why you bring in a COO. I'm not an
Right,
I'm not an operational guy. That's why
right.
I've got John Brooks in the fold to do this stuff for me. So we kind of yoke together and move forward. I mean, that's the important thing. And then there's processing. I mean, there's better people at customer service than me. I
Hmm.
mean, you have to be very self-aware.
Right,
You know,
right.
for sure.
Yeah. So would you say that was or has been maybe the biggest challenge in the process of scaling, or has then there been maybe something else? What would you say has been your kind of your biggest challenge that you've had to overcome throughout this process of scaling your business and transitioning from just John, processing loans under, the name of Starvox Capital to, you know, building the business for, to run the way that it needs to run, and John, running and building this business as opposed to processing loans? What would you say was your biggest challenge?
I think the challenge is always for us is people getting the right people on board,
Yeah,
and then getting them in the right seats. I
yeah.
mean that's the biggest challenge. You bring somebody on board and they're a processor, but maybe that's not the right seat for them. Maybe they
Hmm.
should be doing the loan officer thing or vice versa. I think that's the hardest part always is people. But that's evolving. You have to just keep getting better at finding the right people. And
Hmm.
then you have to get really clear on your vision and your values and make sure the people that you bring on board align with that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you grow. I mean, you get the right people on the team that align with your vision and values, and that's how you really blow up. So that's what we've gotten really clear with now. And I think the future's bright for sure.
Yeah, as a business owner, I agree with you 100%. You're in the regardless of what your business does or whatever service it provides or whatever it may be, at the end of the day, I feel that when you're a business owner, you are in the people business,
Yeah.
and you're in the people business in multiple ways, right? You're in the people business in terms of building relationships, like you mentioned, with your clients, with investors, and you're in the people business of hiring and developing your employees, your team, those people that are going to work with you, right, and
Sure.
help you build together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and that's one of the things that John, my COO, is really driving me is to be the face, be the leader of this company versus working in it. I got to work on it and really get me to there so I can, again, you get the right people on board, but drive the ship a little bit better. Yeah. For sure.
So what's where do you see Starvox Capital 5 years from now? Where, what are you guys pushing towards?
I mean, right now, a lot of our goals are revenue based, mm-hmm. But I think really my vision started to become like, all right, we can be a national brand, I mean, and that's really kind of what I've seen. You see a lot of the Gary Vaynerchuk stuff out there and how like he feels about like the Jets. I just saw a podcast or something. He was doing a keynote or answering a bunch of questions, but it got me really thinking a lot about brand. Mm-hmm. And it really, I'm driven now. And I know Starbucks isn't going to be Kleenex. I know it, or the Coca-Cola or anything like that. But I would love to be that company that when people think about like, I want to start in this world of investing, I want them to think of Starvox Capital. Yep. You know what I mean? I need to go talk to them because those guys are going to guide me. Listen, we're a commodity just like anything else like that. Like just like soda is, just like Kleenex is, just like tissues is. But to be the company where people are like, you know what, those are the guys. Yes, they do loans just like A, B, and C lender or broker does, but they're the ones that do it the best because they're proven and they're showing people really how to do it. It's not just like a transaction; it's a true relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because there's a quote that I heard my mentor say on a podcast that he was doing. I was listening to it not too long ago. And what he said is that there's a rule in business, right? And the rule is he who controls the gold is king, right? And at the end of the day, if you have the access to the gold, right? The funds, the capital that people need, right? You have the access, not only the access, but you have the knowledge and the ability to access that capital for people, right? For investors to have access to that, regardless of their challenges, maybe their credit or their lack of experience or whatever it may be. Like you said, you can differentiate yourself from the other companies within that same space. And like you said, be the go-to where when people think of, hey, I want to get into this business or, I want to get into this space. I want to do, XYZ. These are the people that I need to go talk to because I know they took care of this person and that person and their reputation precedes them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. You nailed it. I mean, that's really the future for us is just that, you run into somebody and you're like, and they're like, I really want to get, I mean, obviously you're going to have other conversations with them, but like, if they're not leaning toward what you're doing and they need someone like that's the person that, like, I want that statement to come out of their mouth. Like, yeah, you need to talk to Starvox Capital. They're the best. They're going to hold your hand. They've got so many options, unlike just like a singular lender that has their bucket is. We've got every lender's bucket. So whatever you bring us, let's find a solution that works best for the client. I want that referral to come to us nationwide, where it's like, yes, those are the guys to talk to, for sure. Yep.
And one thing that really caught my attention when you and I were getting to know each other, and just me kind of getting to know some of the things that you guys have available to you in terms of programs and lenders and stuff like that, is that you guys can do loans in Puerto Rico, or you can do, lending on, investment properties, fix and flips, and a lot of lenders out there that can do that.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. It's just to have options, because not everyone's got, otherwise you're out there searching for a lender that does X, Y, or Z, and, you're going to find them. But that's, again, part of the reason to work with us in a broker relationship is we're fighting for you. When lender comes back and says, hey, we need this, this, and this, we can go back and say, listen, we've got to be able to get around that. It's not always going to work every time, but versus like you going to the lender saying, hey, Mr. Lender or Mrs. Lender, I can't do this and I can't do that. Too bad. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to say that. Sometimes we have to say it is what it is because we've tried to battle, but a lot of times we get to ask for that exception and try to get that thing done for you. Whereas if you go to a direct lender, you know, they may not be able to, or they may not want to because they have so much volume, you know, that, you know, your loan is just a loan. It's a transaction. And
yeah, it's a drop in the bucket. They don't need to go out of their way to kind of, you know, make things work for you. They're like, well, either you conform or not. We don't care either way, right?
Right. And I've seen it so often that, you know, and those are the lenders where when they act like that, we find a new lender to work with. I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, sometimes some lenders just can't get out of their own way. I understand they have guidelines. They have to sell their loans to investors, you know, so I get the reasoning why certain things have to be the certain ways, but there's some things where we can go to bat for you on. But yeah, no, that's it right there. It's about the relationship, period. First and foremost.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting because, you know, like, you know, we were talking about a little while ago, it's, you know, you're in the people business. And when you have a good reputation as a company, obviously not only with your clients, but also creating, you know, fostering strong bonds and relationships with those lenders over time, you know, it gives you some more leverage, you know, to negotiate those sorts of things or get some of those things out of the way where it's like, hey, come on, man, you know, like, do you really need that? Like, do you really need this? Like, come on, you know me, you know, let's get this done.
Yeah.
You know, and they're probably going to be a little more apt to, you know, work with you a bit, you know, because you're bringing them business, you know, you're bringing them quality, you know, quality applicants, quality people that are doing good business.
Yeah. And I know we're finally on that right thing with a lot of lenders. I mean, you know, we didn't talk about it, but we have that golf tournament coming up for Team John Foundation. And I actually have a lender from Pennsylvania coming to golf in it. That's first time we've ever had anybody do anything like that. We've got people, we've got lenders sponsoring it that are from all over, like national lenders, like, you know, they're throwing a couple bucks at us, which is really cool. It just tells me how much they value the relationship, because if they see what we are going to bring them in the future, what we're bringing them now, but the potential of what we're going to bring them, it's all about the relationship back and forth. You know, one hand has to wash the other. Everyone, you know, it's funny story. I get some lenders every once in a while, John, you know, I quote all these loans for you, but we're really not we've only closed X this year. I'm like, Bob, I'm sorry, but you have to understand that we have to do the best for our clients every single time. And if you have the best terms, rates, and programs for our client for that deal, guess what? You're going to get that deal. But if you don't, it's nothing against you. It's just like it's when somebody shops us and finds a better deal somewhere else. It can happen. If they do, hey, good on you. You found a good deal. It doesn't happen often, but like that's what like lenders have to understand. We've had lenders be like, hey, I don't want to quote anymore. Well, then don't. We can get it somewhere else. Obviously, we're getting it somewhere else now. So I have no problem saying, you know, hit the curb. You know, that's not a big deal. We'll find another lender. There's plenty of them that want our business. So we've kind of turned that corner where we used to have those conversations, and now they're like, no worries. I'll keep quoting. You'll get your swings. Just keep getting your swings, and every once in a while, you're going to get a hit. You know?
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's awesome to have that, you know, that sort of understanding with your clients and with your lenders that it's like, hey, you know, I'm not playing favorites here. You know, it's like we're not, you know, kind of in cahoots with anyone specific. We are doing the best that we possibly can for everyone in every way. You know, for our clients, we're going to get you the best deal possible. We're going to get you the best, you know, funding possible for your deal. And for as lenders, like, hey, we're here to do business with you. And if you're the best option, you know, I have a responsibility to my clients. I want to work with you too. And if your option is great, well, then we're going to work with you as well.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that we bring to the table on that topic is we've worked with a bunch of different lenders. I'm going to get a new lender from time to time. I just signed one up that does, you know, lower credit scores and stuff, which is some bucket that I really didn't have, but we haven't used them yet. So when I get somebody that says, you know, hey, this is the best, I'm like, listen, this is the best rate-wise, term-wise for you, but I haven't used them yet. So I'm not saying we're not going to be able to get it done, but option B is maybe a tick higher, we've used and we've closed. So kind of what do you want, up to you. What do you want to do? I'm upfront with people about that stuff just because, it's important. The people that have done it for you and closed loans for you, it's hard to not go back to them in a competitive situation. If it's apples to apples all day long, the ones who I've closed with, they're going to get it. Yep. I'm not going to try and roll the dice with a new client, for a lender that just, may have just an 1/8% lower or something like that. It's not worth it.
Right. What's the saying? Well, one in the hand is worth more than two in the bush, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. That's it.
So talk to me about your foundation, man. I know a little bit about it, but not enough.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you asking about it too. So in 2020, when I relapsed, and I was good. I was cancer-free from 2014, end of 2014, all the way to all the way. I had zero hiccups, zero issues. Like in issues, what I mean by that is you can get what's called graft versus host disease from a stem cell transplant, which means my new immune system attacks my body and could provide complications, even death, right? I had no issues. I'm like, all right, by the grace of God, everything is great. No problems. COVID rolls around, and I'm building the deck in the backyard with my dad, and I develop a cough, and I'm like holding up a board, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm tired. I'm like, I'm getting lightheaded. I'm like, something's not right. But I honestly didn't think of anything like it did not go to cancer. It did not. Mm-hmm. It was like, maybe I have pneumonia. I've got a cold. Maybe it's COVID.
Right.
This cough persisted. My wife was like, all right, I'm booking the appointment at the urgent care. Went over there. No COVID. They checked my what else did they check? They checked my lungs, and there were some nodules in there. My oxygen was low. So they're like, no COVID. We see something going on in your lungs. Could be something to investigate. Go to the ER and have it checked out when you get a chance. Your pulse ox is low too. So I went, sitting there almost like deja vu, because when I got diagnosed the first time, my doctor from a physical tested my blood, saw something wonky with my blood, told me to go to the ER. It was like that. So I'm in the ER again and thinking, all right, babe, I'm talking to my wife. I'll be home. As soon as they check me out, I'll be home. No big deal. Well, doctor comes in after all these tests and CAT scans because they're looking at my chest, testing my blood, and they're like, sorry, but your cancer relapsed. And I'm like, it was the biggest kick to the gut I think that I've ever had. Just because I knew like what that meant potentially. It meant that, when this cancer comes back, it comes back angrier and harder to get into remission again. And I'm like, all right, time to fight again, man. So I went into battle mode but I also knew there was a bigger reason. There's got to be something else that I'm not seeing. Not that this is like given to me from God or anything like that. Like it wasn't like my fault or I was bad, but I was like looking for the reason. I'm like, so I got out of the hospital in June and achieved remission. And we're going to start this kind of like trial situation as well after achieving remission. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just waiting for that kind of sign, is what we're doing. And my wife and I are talking about, we're talking about, we did a t-shirt fundraiser. A lot of people wanted Team John t-shirts while I was in the hospital again. Okay. And my wife's cousin set up this thing on Custom Ink, and it was easy. So we didn't have to mail anything. They did it themselves. And we raised money. A lot of people like sent money in, and it was like, well, it was helpful. I was in the hospital. So, I really wasn't working too much. I was still working in the hospital in the mortgage business. I was still generating loans. But I was like, some days I was like flat on my back. Like, this is not happening today. Right. So it was really nice for people to do that. So at home, we're talking about the t-shirt fundraiser because at the time we had done 4 tournaments for the Jimmy Fund, 4 golf tournaments for the Jimmy Fund, raised about $100,000.
Nice.
And we were planning on doing another one at some point when I was ready to go. And my wife's like, we should use that company again and do t-shirts for everybody, like for all the volunteers, and whatever's money goes in, we'll donate it to the foundation. And when she said foundation, we never referred to the Jimmy Fund as a foundation before. As soon as she said that word foundation, I was like, that's what we have to do. She's like, what? And I'm like, we have to create a 501c3 and actually become a foundation. We have to become a source where we can help people when they hit sudden crisis or crisis like cancer, like death in the family, like issues that has them suddenly displaced or whatever. And she's like, all right, let's go. And before before I thought about it, like in 2015, I thought about it, but it was too big for me. It was too much. It was no, that other stuff was good enough. And as soon as she said the word, it all of a sudden was not. And we did it. And by the end of 2020, we created a 501c3, Team John Foundation, and we help those who are falling on sudden crisis, be it like a sudden illness where it displaces them in a hospital where they can't earn income. I mean, we've helped, people that have passed that need money for funerals. I mean, you name it. People that have had to get out of their house because of mold issues. So that's what we're doing. We're helping people because we recognize that I had such a good community when I battled. I had people just step up and take care of me and take care of the family. And I realized that there's a lot of people that don't have that when it hits the fan. So that's when Team John Foundation started, and it's been going strong. Last year, we had our first golf tournament that benefited us and a couple other 501c3s, cancer-related, like the Jimmy Fund and Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And this year, our tournament's next week. So I'm excited about it. We've got a decent amount of people coming, and we're hoping to keep raising some funds. So yeah, I appreciate you asking about that.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And I can tell you that as I don't remember if I ever mentioned this to you, the few times that we've met and chatted and stuff like that, but my brother got into a really bad car accident years ago. He almost lost his life. And if it wasn't for LifeStar, he would have never gotten to the hospital in time. Wow. So as a close family member of somebody who's, excuse me, dealt with something that's, life-changing, a catastrophic life event, what your foundation is doing is huge, because there were a lot of people that stepped up through different organizations, even in the town that he lives in. There were a lot of amazing people that stepped up to help him and his family. He has children, he has a wife. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I appreciate the mission, right? And I know that a lot of people will be blessed, by what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Amen, brother. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's exciting. And that's why we do the tournament is, right now, I mean, we can write small checks. I want to be able to make bigger impact and really help somebody. And not saying like a small check isn't helping somebody, because we have to understand that a small check maybe to you or I is still a massive check to somebody else. So I'm not lost on that. But, when somebody really needs something and to be fully lifted up, I want to be able to do that. So we have a lot of work to do. One golf tournament a year is not going to do it. So we've got to do more and raise more. So sure.
Yeah, I love it. So we're running short on time. I don't want to hold you up any longer. I appreciate you coming on so much. I want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know who's listening how they can, potentially partner with Team John, how they can support your efforts and how they can be a part of what it is that you guys are doing. So if you can give us, the websites, the social media handles, Starvox Capital for those that are out there, needing capital, to fund their deals. Give us all the info, man. Let us know how we can get a hold of you and how we can, work with you.
Yeah, for Starvox, starvoxcapital.com. If they click the link on there to request a call or connect, I mean, one of us will reach right out to them within a day easily, depending on what time they hit us. As far as Team John, it's teamjohn.org. There's a little bit about my story on there and what we went through. We still, the golf tournament website's they're separate. But yeah, there's a place to donate on that site if they choose to as well. Yeah, I mean, anything that people want to reach out for, if you know somebody that's on, dealing with some stuff, connect me with them, send us an email at john@teamjohn.org. Yeah, love to connect, love to talk. I appreciate you having me on here, Irving. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to our next coffee. I'm sure we'll be doing it soon.
For sure. Thank you, John. You're a fighter. You're an inspiration. I appreciate you. Guys, we're going to have all of those links for Team John and for Starvox Capital down in the description. So if you weren't able to, get that down, or if you're not sure in the spelling, it'll be right in the description here on this video. So again, thank you, John, and we'll talk soon, brother.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.